Hello, this is Yvonne Davis. I'm a professional astrologer and I am doing another reading on what's happening in Donald Trump's life astrologically. And I'm sure you're all interested in how the astrological alignments and in particular the eclipses impact him as President of the United States. It has a rippling effect, and therefore it affects all of us in this country. So I am going to share my screen with you so that you can see up here. I have his chart and the February 15 eclipse. So here, this is a very interesting configuration. So on the inner wheel, we have Donald Trump's natal chart, and on the outer wheel, we have the alignments of the eclipse on February 15th. So for those of you who don't know, a new moon eclipse is when the moon and the sun are at the same degree in the same sign, and they are very close to the nodes. So this is called the north node and this is the south node. And the fact that it's close means that the way the planets and the sun line up, particularly the sun and the earth and the moon, creates an eclipse effect. And this has a very powerful effect on human consciousness. And even more than that, it is karmic. So it indicates karmic changes that will be brought about due to these astrological alignments. And you know, it's hard to say whether the astrological alignments actually cause the effects or if they are just recording time, like a clock. So for example, let's say this would be midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. So when the clock strikes 4:05 p.m. on February 15th, 2018 in Washington, D.C., something will be activated. And in astrology, we say that everything happens on a bell curve. So the closer you get to that exact moment, the more powerful the energy is. However, it can start within 5 days before the alignment, and it can last for 5 days after. So it's actually a bell curve that gets more intense as you get closer to the peak of the curve. Also, eclipses are a little bit different than regular new moons and full moons because they are so much more intense. They're 3 times more intense and they last longer. Their impact lasts longer, usually 6 months to a year, sometimes even longer than that. And they have karmic repercussions. So what's particularly interesting about this new moon eclipse on February 15th is that it's in conjunction with Juno. And as I said in previous videos, which I will link in the box below, I think Juno is actually Melania, because this here we see Juno, this is Juno in his natal chart, and it's very close to Jupiter in his natal chart. And the archetypal story of Jupiter and Juno was that they were man and wife, and Jupiter cheated on Juno quite often, and she was very angry about that, but she never left him. So it's interesting to think about because of things that have been happening in the news lately. Reports that there may have been some marital infidelities on Donald Trump's part. So it's interesting to see that showing up. And then we have Mercury, which is all about information, also mixed in with this new moon eclipse. So I think some very interesting information will be revealed because of this February 15th eclipse. Now over here, we have the North Node, and we also have Ceres Ceres on the ascendant conjunct his natal Pluto. And again, this is really interesting archetypally because of the story of Pluto and how he abducted Persephone. And so in the mythological story, Ceres is the goddess of the harvest, and Persephone was her daughter, and Pluto, also known as Hades, was the god of the underworld, and he opened up the earth and abducted Persephone and took her down into the underworld, made her his wife, sexually assaulted her, forced her into marriage, and she became the queen of the underworld. So it's also interesting that this opposition is actually in his natal chart, and now it's showing up on this eclipse. So I think that some information around that will also be revealed with the February 15th eclipse. And again, something will be activated because of the eclipse on February 15th, but that doesn't mean that the whole story will be revealed on February 15th. Possibly some information will be revealed because it's activated on the 15th, but the story may take 6 months to a year to completely unfold. The other interesting thing about this is that the new moon eclipse, now all of this is happening in his 7th house of others, the 7th house of long-term meaningful relationships, and that's all kinds of relationships. It can be contractual relationships, it can be marriage, friends, family, as long as the relationships are long-term and meaningful, and that can even include enemies. So it's saying that something is coming up that has to do with other people in his life, and this is very karmic because it's happening at the eclipse. So we'll see how this plays out, especially with this Pluto opposition to Ceres in his natal chart. And now we have Ceres conjunct the ascendant and the North Node conjunct his natal Pluto. So this is very interesting to see this unfolding at the eclipse because this is very karmic. Something else we see here about Donald Trump is that he was actually born on a full moon eclipse. As you can see here, here is the sun, and opposite that is the moon. That's an indication of a full moon, and it's right next to the North Node. So, and that's a total full moon eclipse. So that's really powerful. And also because he has his ascendant at the 29th degree of Leo, those two things in themselves would indicate that he would very likely be a wealthy, powerful, and famous person. And I think that has shown to be true. But what's interesting here is that the vertex, which indicates destiny, fate, and karma, is now conjunct his moon in this configuration in his natal chart. So this is a full moon eclipse in his natal chart, and the vertex, which represents fate, destiny, and karma, is conjunct that full moon eclipse in his natal chart. So we'll see what that's all about. All right, and then over here we have Pluto in his 6th house of work. Pluto indicates power. Capricorn is the government, and this is the 6th house of work. So it's not surprising that he became president of the United States when Pluto was in Capricorn in his 6th house of work. But the other interesting thing is that Pluto is activated here in his chart, and Pluto is activating his vertex here. So we see all these things activated simultaneously. The new moon eclipse here, Ceres conjunct Pluto here, Pluto opposite Ceres here, the vertex conjunct his full moon eclipse here, and Pluto conjunct the vertex here. And what we say in astrology is we have what's called the rule of three. So if you see something showing up multiple times, that makes it more likely that any predictions that you can see in the chart have an increased chance of being true. So we are seeing the same things showing up multiple times. And also sometimes as an astrologer, we look at these alignments in here. We see this opposition to his ascendant and his Mars. And then we see these yods. The yods are called karmic readjustments. So here we have the new moon eclipse conjunct Juno, which, as I said, I believe is Melania in his chart. Mercury, which indicates information. And this, the south node, makes it an eclipse. And also the south node is an indication of things from our past. And it is in his house of others, opposite his ascendant and his natal Mars. It is also making a quincunx that, again, that is called a karmic readjustment to his Venus, which represents women, in the 12th house of things that are hidden. So that tells me that something new is coming with this new moon, and it has to do with information from the past that has to do with women that are hidden, and it will impact his marriage. All right, so for the moment, well, I guess I'll talk about one more of these quincunxes from Venus in his 8th house. The 8th house can also rule things that are hidden, but often it's an indication of sexuality because the 8th house rules sexuality and intimacy and deep psychological transformation. So we see Venus here again, and Venus is making quincunx to Neptune, and Neptune is all about, its shadow side is all about deception. So I have a feeling something has been hidden, there's been some deception, has to do with women, and it's going to impact his marriage. Okay, so I'm going to shift out of this particular chart and I'm going to pull up a different chart. Oh, here I have Donald Trump. Okay, some more information that may be revealed. Trump sold a $40 million estate to a Russian oligarch for $100 million, and a Democratic senator wants to know why. This is a Newsweek article by Tom Porter. So it's very interesting because in this article, there's an interesting phrase here, which was follow the money. So I suspect that in terms of this Russian investigation, they will be doing just that. It says right here, it is imperative that Congress follow the money and conduct a thorough investigation into any potential money laundering. So I'm not sure if you saw that, but I'll bring that up again so you can see it. Okay, so let's see. Let's look at the next chart. Okay, I need to pause this video for a moment. Okay, I am back and I have a new chart to show you. So let me bring that up. Okay, so this was the August new moon eclipse. This was August 21st, 2017. And the reason why this is interesting is because, and the reason why I chose Wheatland, Wyoming was because I was actually there at the very moment of the eclipse, so that was pretty exciting. But here we have the new moon eclipse on August 21st, 2017. It's a total new moon eclipse, and it's conjunct the midheaven, which rules career, and Mars. So this was, all of this conjunction was right on his ascendant. And now the new moon eclipse on February 15th is going to be opposite. So I'm going to pull that up for you too, but I wanted to show you some more interesting things here. Over here we had Saturn conjunct Lilith, another goddess, another warrior goddess. And this is conjunct his full moon eclipse with the vertex on the other side. So that's very interesting. So here's also Venus conjunction. So again, we see the same kinds of things activated, the same positions activated. So we have this full moon eclipse in his natal chart activated over here. This time it's activated on this side, on February 15th, on this side, on the moon side. But at the last eclipse, it was activated on the sun side. And over here we had Saturn and Lilith. So something's definitely going to be revealed because, as I said, a new moon eclipse can initiate something new having to do with your karma. So it was definitely initiated on the August new moon eclipse, August 21st, 2017. And now we're seeing it play out again on the other side with the new moon eclipse on February 15th. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to show you how not only you can you see how this eclipse conjunction is on his ascendant, and this Saturn Lilith conjunction is on his natal full moon eclipse with a vertex on this side. But you will see how these two eclipses line up with each other. So I'm going to pause this video and then I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so now I'm going to show you what it looks like when you take the February eclipse on February 15th and you line it up against the chart of the August new moon eclipse on August 21st. So here again we see the new moon eclipse on August 21st. It's a total new moon eclipse conjunct Mars and the midheaven, which rules career. And that was in his house of self, and it was, when it happened, it was right on his ascendant at 29 degrees Leo. And so now we can see over here what that August, okay, so this is August 21st new moon eclipse, and this is over here is the February 15th eclipse. So you can see how they're right opposite each other. And that's really important because it's activating, once again, the same degrees as those that were activated with the original eclipse. So what we can divine from that is that the story, in a sense, was activated on at this moment in time, August 21st, 2017, and now we're going to see a new piece of the story revealed with the February 15th eclipse. So I want to show you again here with the vertex on this side, with the August 21st eclipse, opposite the vertex over here, and Saturn over here. So even though these are different points in time, that astrologically that doesn't matter, because what it indicates is that the same degrees are being activated. So here we have 28 degrees of Leo, a total full moon eclipse, which activated his ascendant at 29 degrees of Leo. And then over here we have 27 degrees of Aquarius, which is reactivating the original eclipse at 27 degrees and his ascendant at 29 degrees. So that's extremely important. And then over here, we see the vertex at this point, at this degree, which we know because we saw his chart before, that his sun and north node are at that degree, and his moon and south node are at this degree. So we're seeing the vertex on both sides. Here it was activating his sun and north node in his natal chart, and here it's activating his moon and south node in his natal chart. And we also have Saturn and Lilith at this degree. So 21 degrees Sagittarius here, 21 degrees Gemini here, 23 degrees Sagittarius here, and that is exactly where his full moon eclipse lines up in his natal chart. So we know that something karmic is unfolding. And to see how the whole story plays out, we will have to wait until the news is revealed. So I'm going to close out of those charts. And since I'm not sure if you saw this story, I'm going to pull it up again. Let's see here. Here it is. Okay, so what I was saying was that there's this Newsweek story. Trump sold a $40 million estate to a Russian oligarch for $100 million, and a Democratic senator wants to know why. So this is a story from Newsweek by Tom Porter. And again, I was saying that there's a quote here that says, "It is imperative that Congress follow the money and conduct a thorough investigation into any potential money laundering or other illicit financial dealings between the president, his associates, and Russia." So this is part of the ongoing Russian investigation that the FBI is doing. And this is very important because, you know, this is the president of our United States. I'm not making any allegations. I'm not making any judgments. I'm not necessarily even making any predictions, except the fact that, one, his chart indicates that there is some profound karma that is unfolding in his life. That I feel comfortable saying. That is definitely a prediction I'm willing to make. Some profound karma is unfolding in his life. And how that will all play out, we'll have to wait and see. But it looks like there are two major players in this karmic story. The first has to do with the potential money laundering related to Russia. And the reason why that's important, the reason why the FBI is investigating that, is because it may indicate that our president, you know, one of the reasons why people voted for him was because they said that because he was a billionaire, that he could not be financially persuaded. In other words, he wouldn't be a puppet of money or people who have money, because he already has his own money. But as it turns out, that may not be true. It may be that he actually is. Okay, so to sum it up, what I was saying is that I have been studying these charts, the charts for Donald Trump and the charts for the United States, and they're both highly and powerfully impacted by these eclipses. And it's also interesting that the eclipse on August 21st was actually most visible in the United States. So there's definitely something going on both for Donald Trump karmically and for the United States karmically. And so, as I said, as an astrologer, I don't make specific predictions in the sense of I am not going to predict that Donald Trump will be impeached or that he'll resign, you know, or I would never predict someone's death or assassination or anything like that. I just predict the energies that are surrounding that person. And so in Donald Trump's case, what I think it's safe to say is that he has some profound karma that is unfolding in his life right now. And I also want to reiterate that when you're looking at eclipses, again, it's a bell curve. So usually the energy of any alignment, but let's say, for example, a new moon or a full moon, it's a bell curve that starts 5 days prior, and then it peaks when the alignment is exact, the energy peaks, and then there's a 5 day drop. So, so it's like a bell curve. It starts 5 days prior, and then it goes up. The power gets more intense. It peaks at the top of the curve when the alignment is exact, and then the power dissipates as we move away from that point in time, all the way out 5 days. So it's kind of a 10-day curve that peaks at the moment that it's exact. But the thing about eclipses is that they are 3 times more powerful than regular new moons and full moons, and they indicate karma unfolding. So although they may initiate or bring something to fruition, the new moons tend to initiate and full moons tend to bring things to culmination. But what happens with an eclipse is that it's a trigger point. So it doesn't mean that everything shows up at that very moment. What it means is something gets triggered, and then the whole story unfolds over the course of generally 6 months to a year, sometimes longer. So that's how eclipses work. But again, they are very karmic. And because of the way it's lining up in Donald Trump's chart, we know that this is a very karmic unfolding for him. So, but to see how it plays out precisely, we will have to wait and let the story unfold in time. But as I also wanted to say, I see 2 forces that are at play in this karmic unfolding. One has to do with the women in his life and things that have been hidden that are now going to come to light, and that impacts his marriage. And then the other side of it has to do with money and any interactions he had with Russia. I don't know how that all plays out, but that's the whole purpose of the FBI investigation, is to see if perhaps there was some relationship there that is important for us to know, because of the fact that he is the President of the United States. And as I was saying, many people elected him because, or voted for him because, from their perspective, the fact that he was a billionaire meant that he wouldn't be a puppet of money because he had his own money. So people wouldn't be able to pull the money strings because he had his own money. But in fact, it may turn out that that's not true, that there may be something going on having to do with money and Russia. And if there was money laundering, which is illegal, then he may, in fact, be a puppet. And that's kind of a scary thought, because Russia has been the other superpower in this world for many, many years. I would say, particularly with the revolution 100 years ago, the 2 or 3 major superpowers have been the United States, Russia, and China. And so to think that another superpower could be pulling the strings with the president of our country is a very serious matter. So I think that it's important for the FBI to do its job and find out exactly what's going on. And because the eclipses are karmic, whatever unfolds has to do with Donald Trump's karma. So it's not that, I'm sure some people, those who support Donald Trump, believe that the so-called deep state is out to get him. But the fact is that karma is something divine. It has to do with the divine realm. These things are not controlled by human beings. These things are controlled by divine power, or if you, whatever term you feel comfortable, divine power, divine intelligence, God, whatever term you prefer to use. That's God's will. That's not going to be something that any human being can control when karma is unfolding. That's God's will. So we will have to wait and see what happens as the story unfolds and as Donald Trump's karma unfolds. So we will see how that affects him and how it affects us in the United States. And I will now bring this reading to a close. And if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe. I'm really striving to build this channel and build a community. And if this information is meaningful to you, it helps tremendously to get the message out. So please subscribe to this channel, click like on this video, ring the bell for notifications, and please share on your social media and with your friends and family, because we really need to get this message out. And if you have any comments that you want to share or questions, please leave them in the comments box below. And I will continue to follow this karmic story, and I will let you know what is happening as soon as a message comes through to me. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.